Hey guys, in today's video, I want to discuss the top 10 fitness myths, in my opinion, that are really important to address. I want to first address that fitness shouldn't be something that's hard to achieve your goals. It does take time. However, it's not something that you need to overcomplicate. And addressing these myths should help you achieve your goals without any added stress on what you may have heard. I'll discuss the myth, why it's not true, my personal take on it, and any science-based evidence that may come with it. The first myth I feel is something that not a lot of people talk about, but it's also a very common myth. The myth is no carbs after 7 p.m. because your body will store the extra carbs as fat. This one is really easy to debunk. Your body is constantly burning calories no matter what time of day it is. Metabolism does slow down a little bit when you're sleeping, but it's not a big enough difference to change your eating habits. If you have carbs after 7 p.m., you're still going to burn those carbs off. The main goal is eating less calories than what you burn each day. The second one is constantly debunked, but I still hear it a lot. And it's that weightlifting makes women bulky. This myth is basically just knowing about a little bit about hormones. I'm not a doctor of any kind, but it is important to know that men have way more testosterone that's for muscle building compared to women. Men have up to 15 to 20 times more testosterone than women. With that being said, it's really hard for women to gain a significant amount of muscle that's going to give you this bulky look. The benefit for lifting weights, no matter if you're a man or a woman, is that it's going to help you lose fat and it's going to give you a more lean look when you're building muscle, regardless of the rep range, which we'll talk about rep range in a second. Before we talk about rep range though, let's talk about myth number 3, and that is you can spot reduce fat. This is a myth that in the fitness industry, a lot of influencers will take advantage of for beginners in order to gain clients. However, it's something that isn't true. If your algorithm is based on enough fitness workouts, I'm sure you've seen someone say, do these ab workouts in order to lose the belly fat, or do these to have a smaller waist. And it's something that isn't possible. Your body loses fat wherever it wants to, just like your body gains fat wherever it wants to. Some people gain more fat in their stomach. Some people gain more fat in their legs. When I gain fat in my legs and my face. The important thing to focus on is overall fat loss instead of just focusing on certain parts of your body that you want to lose the fat. Doing this will take a lot of stress out of the gym because you won't necessarily have to focus on doing a specific body part each day just to lose the fat off of it. Speaking of losing fat, let's talk about cardio is better than weightlifting for fat loss. I already made a video on which is better for weight loss, cardio or weightlifting, and at the end of the day, it's a mixture of both. But let's go a little bit further into that. I want to start with saying that if you love cardio and you love running, and that's the way that you enjoy working out, then that's completely fine. But when you're just starting in the gym, you've probably heard that cardio is one of the ways to best lose weight. And that's correct. Cardio is really good at adding in extra calories in order to lose weight. But losing weight and losing fat are really important questions to ask yourself. Losing fat is more important than just focusing on the scale and losing weight. And it's important to add both weightlifting as well as cardio. Because if you just do cardio without weightlifting, you can end up having that skinny fat look where you haven't gained any muscle, but you still have some fat hanging on. We want to focus on a better improved body composition. If you're lifting weights and doing cardio in order to lose fat, you're going to look a lot better long-term compared to if you're just doing cardio. I do want to add in my opinion on cardio as well. For me, I hate cardio. I don't like being on the treadmill, being in the bike, or doing anything cardio related in the gym. However, I do like doing stuff outside of the gym. I like dancing. I like going for bike rides where I can see different scenic routes. I like walking, and those are my cardio options. When people talk about cardio for weight loss, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're being in the gym for 30 minutes or an hour doing just cardio. There's other things that you can do that you may enjoy a lot more. And that's something that's really important to take note of. Myth number 5 isn't necessarily a myth. However, it can make things a little bit more difficult when you're trying to lose weight or build muscle. And that is eating 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I made a video on this where I referenced the Institute of Human Anatomy, where they talked about how much muscle you need in order to build muscle or maintain muscle. And it's a very good video. I suggest you go check it out. In the video, I take the calculation of what the Institute of Human Anatomy talks about just for maintaining or gaining muscle, and I apply it to my body weight. and I end up eating between 30 to 40 grams less protein compared to if I just take 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight formula. That doesn't mean that you absolutely have to eat less protein. More protein is better than less protein, but eating protein to maintain or gain muscle, the number isn't as high as you may think it is. I wanted to address this one. When I train beginner clients, especially females, they find it very hard to eat enough protein that can be over 100 grams. So putting into perspective that you don't necessarily need 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, that can help make things a little bit less stressful when it comes to meeting your macros outside of the gym. This next myth is for people who may be older or who may have joint issues, and that is weightlifting is bad for your joints. In actuality, strength training strengthens the joints as well as the surrounding tissue. The goal is that if you have joint issues or you're worried about joint issues, you want to make sure that you can do the full range of motion for each exercise so that way your joints stay as mobile as possible. You'll see people in the gym that as they get older and they've done this less range of motion, their body starts to become a little bit more tight, and that not only has to do with aging, but how they're working out as well. Myth number 7 is the scale not moving means that you're not making any progress. When you're on a fitness journey and you're trying to lose weight, it's really hard not to focus on the scale because that gives you an idea of the progress that you're making. And when you're trying to lose weight, it can be important to track the scale every single day in order to see an overall progression of the weight loss. The thing is though, is that weight loss isn't linear, and sometimes you can be building muscle and losing fat at the same time, especially if you're a beginner. The important thing to remember about your body is that your body fluctuates in weight about 6 to 8 pounds every day. It depends on when you weigh yourself, what you've eaten or not eaten, the amount of water retention you may be holding, and other things. Just because the scale tells you you're not losing weight doesn't mean you're not. There's also the thing of building muscle and losing fat at the same time. If you're just starting in the gym, you're more likely to be gaining muscle and building fat compared to if you're a more advanced lifter. And because of that, you're less likely to see changes in the scale. What is important to remember when you're trying to lose weight is not necessarily the number on the scale, but how you feel, how your clothes fit, and if you feel any strength changes or if you may see any gains in muscle size. Myth number 8 is something that I mentioned very briefly earlier, and that is higher reps tone your muscles. Let's start off with talking about the word tone. There's not such a thing as being able to tone a muscle versus build a muscle. It's a lot simpler than that, and it's just that you can either build muscle or maintain your muscle. What gives people that toned look, especially women, is that they have more muscle compared to other people. One really good example is comparing body fat percentage types and the different types of people. Let's take Tyler Path, for example. Tyler Path is very lean and he looks very, very big. I think he actually weighs, I think he said like between 130 and 140. The dude's super shredded, right? But if you were to put me and him side by side, you would think that he was bigger than I was based off how much little body fat he has compared to me. So what that means is that it's more important to be able to build muscle and lower your body fat percentage compared to focusing on the rep range to give you a more toned look. Myth number 9 is doing cardio before weights for weight loss. This coincides with the previous myth that I talked about, in that you should do a mixture of cardio and weightlifting in order to lose fat, but instead of just doing cardio. But this also depends on what your goals are as well. If you are more of a runner and you're looking to build up more your aerobic activity, then yes, you should definitely do cardio before weightlifting. But if your main goal is just to focus on losing fat, losing weight, then what you want to do is do the opposite. Because what you want to do is build more muscle in order to raise your base metabolic rate. When you have more muscle on you, your base metabolic rate goes up, which leads to more calorie expenditure every day. And if you're doing cardio before you're doing weights, you're going to have a harder time building muscle compared to if you're switching it and doing it the other way around. So it's more important to do weightlifting first so you can build up your base metabolic rate compared to doing cardio first. The last myth I want to talk about is that you need to spend hours and hours in the gym. What's more important is the intensity of the workouts. If you're giving in your all and you're doing everything you need to do in the gym, you can get done in about 30 to 45 minutes. There's something that I know Jeff Nippert has talked about, and it's called junk volume, and that's doing more weight and more sets than you actually need to do that can actually hinder your muscle growth. And that's something that's really important to discuss. I always tell people it's important to do shorter workouts, but work the muscle multiple days a week compared to working the muscle one time a week and just doing a lot of volume. You're going to see a lot more benefits working muscle groups multiple times a week when you're fully recovered and you can still lift a lot of weight compared to doing one time a week where by the end of your workout, you're exhausted and you can barely lift anything. You also have to think about the intensity as well. If you're not a power lifter, you don't necessarily need to wait multiple minutes in order to do your next set. Resting as little as 30 seconds can help you achieve muscle growth and hypertrophy, as well as keep the intensity going. If you're just starting out, you can do between 30 to 45 minutes 3 times a week and still see progress. What I do is I go to the gym 5 days a week and I only spend about 30 to 45 minutes in there. My rests are generally pretty short, between 30 and 90 seconds, and I like to do a lot of supersets or drop sets in order to get a lot more intensity and volume and that time under tension. If you're giving it your all in the gym, 30 minutes is really all you need. Like I said in the beginning, working out isn't as complicated as people like to make it out to be. And the myths that I discussed today, I think, stress people out more than they have to. Losing weight is something that doesn't happen overnight, and being able to work out and meet your goals is something that you want to happen long term, not just in the short run. If you feel like this video helped you, leave a comment and make sure you like and subscribe, as well as watch some of my other videos if you're not sure where to start. If you like free workouts, I have a newsletter that you can sign up for where I send workouts directly to your email each week. Thank you guys so much for watching the video.